Good evening, Fernwood. It's your TV pal Neil, and it's time for some more late night variety madness with another episode of Fernwood Tonight. If you're just seeing my face for the first time, this is a reaction show of which you are in the final week of. And thanks for tuning in. We will watch the show together and then we'll talk about it because, well, how else are we going to spend our week? And if that sounds like it's your bag, then please stick around. Also, please consider checking out our Patreon and supporting because that's, how this channel grows. You get early access to episodes that happen to be uncut and also monthly updates on what's going on and more things later. Everyone, we are watching episode 62 from September 27th, 1977. Yesterday got into some stuff that I'm going to talk about now. Barth Gimbel started by answering letters from the home audience, though he didn't have permission to read what was in the letters, and Jerry maybe didn't get that memo. Then we bring out Bob and Joanne Hurlick of the Fernwood Shakespeare Society, who do a bit of Romeo and Juliet with tap dance. Barth welcomes on faith healer Nelson Phipps, who has a plan to bring water from Lourdes, enough so that he can start his own theme park with many saintly attractions. Our final guest is Secret Service agent Michael Curlin, who has been protecting the First Lady for 10 years. In this case, that First Lady is Bess Truman, who is 92 years old. He's made sure that there's always an agent underneath her at all time. And that's where we ran out of time yesterday, everyone, so let's see what's in store for us today.
Fernwood Tonight, 30 minutes of very remarkable entertainment coming to you almost live with your host for tonight, Mr. Barth Gimbel. Tonight, Barth's guest will be Princess Shosheen Rising Star, who is on the warpath. Dr. Stanley Turnbull, who can help you talk with your hands, even if your hearing is fine, because after all, it is someone else's face. And Happy Kind and the Mirth Makers. And me, I'm Jerry Hubbard. And now here's your host and mine, Mr. Barth Gimbel.
Thank you very much. Woo! Good evening and welcome again to Fernwood Tonight. My name is Barth Gimbel, and I'm sure by now all of you who care, who know that one of the giants of show business, Mr. Tony Orlando, has announced that he is going to tie the yellow ribbon of retirement around the old oak tree of his career. Tony, as I like to call him, and I think we would have been pretty close friends if circumstances had been a little different. Tony said he had his reasons for retiring so shockingly early, and I mean that. It was early. The man's talent didn't even have a chance to span such important media as movies and commercials. He said that he had reasons for, and he said his reasons for retiring were religious. Well, maybe it is God's way of saying, Tony, I've heard your last album. In any event, the voice of Tony Orlando, the voice that brought us not 3 times, was stilled by whatever it is that forces a man to just chuck it all. And I don't mean to say that, make that an attack on Tony-O. Some of us just handle success a little better than others. You can't take credit for it. It's just in your genes. Anyway, an important show business institution is at stake here, however. The 2 beautiful ladies who worked with Tony under the name of Dawn are probably desperately looking around right now for another major talent whose career they can hitchhike on. Well, let me say this. Thelma and the other one, if you happen to see this, I have never worked with women of your ethnic background before, that is true. But if I can in any way help to prevent the sun from setting on Dawn, I think is the best way to put it, don't hesitate to let me know, okay? If you have any bookings that Tony's backing out on, I'll even consider asking for maybe a night or 2 off from the show here to help you girls out, okay? And I'm serious. In fact, I even do a version of Candida with a whole second verse in Spanish, and I think that would work perfect for us. Maybe some night we'll do it with Happy and Jerry taking the part of Thelma and the other one. Maybe I'll try to avoid that, too. In the meantime, here's our announcer and co-host, a man who retired some time ago and no one noticed, Mr. Jerry Hubbard.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about Tony Orlando. There's another city without a star who uses their name.
That's right.
Next, John Denver will be retiring, and there goes Colorado. A lot of performers use names of cities. I don't know if that's a new trend or what.
The James Cleveland Singers?
Yes, that's true. And, gee, there's a lot of them, actually.
There are?
Yes. Tony Orlando.
Tony Orlando be one. And Bob Denver.
Bob Denver.
And John Denver, of course. Mm-hmm. It's the same name.
Yes, and James San Franciscus. I don't really know if that's his middle name or not. But it probably works two ways. It gives the city good publicity, and then when they perform, the whole city watches the show, too.
John Hartford.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Burt Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Michael York.
Yeah, this is true, and he's new, so it's fine.
Sure.
Okay. I understand Happy Kind of Mirth.
If I had a map, I could probably go through and pick out a whole lot of
Dayton Allen, be another one. I understand Happy Kind the Mirth Makers have a special something for the kids to dance to. Is that right, Happy?
Well, yes, Bart, that's perfectly true. You know, the thing about it today is that the surveys show that the kids 9 and 10 years old are buying all the records that people are buying. And I think that it's terrible that they are subjected to the suggestive kind of lyrics that they're subjected to, like hustle this and boogie that and get it down and put it where you want it, all that sort of thing.
Shake your booty, that type of thing.
Is that, do they do that?
They're not talking about a baby's shoe.
Well, the kids, oh, they're not, I see.
No.
Well, what we've done is we feel that the kids should have something inspiring, some kind of lyric that they can dance to and enjoy. And we have worked on a great number, a disco-type number that I think everybody will enjoy.
Well, I guess there's no way we can stop you from doing it either, is there?
Not really.
Just kidding, you have. Why don't you go ahead then and crank up the Mirth Makers over there and see what you can do with them.
Okay, now, boys, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Little Sir Echo. How do you do? Hello. Echo. I'm very blue. Hello. 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 Hello.
Thanks, Happy. That was a wonderful tune, too, before, I think. Aren't they great, Happy Kind of Mirth Makers?
You know, that makes me think there's a lot of musicians that use cities' names. There's Memphis Slim, Illinois Jacket, Texas Tyler.
This is true, Jerry.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Charleston Heston.
Charleston Heston.
Oh, that could be.
Charlton,
South Carolina. And Heston.
Right. Our next guest is an American Indian from the Shinnecock tribe. She's in the Tri-County area as part of a goodwill tour on behalf of her people. I think that's nice.
Yes, it sure is.
More people should do that kind of thing. We'd have better will, but then if we had that much goodwill, we might not need the tours, but I think it's good to get it out there. Please welcome Princess Shosheen Rising Star.
Oh, my gosh, you look very authentic. You don't often see the Indians wearing the braids and feathers and fringe and leather anymore. So many of the, I guess, the modern Indians, especially the girls, they wear those saris and a little red dot on their forehead. Towels around their head and those white robes. But I guess I'm just a traditionalist.
At least that, Jerry.
I like this look very much.
Now, those are Eastern Indians. And this is the authentic American Indian.
Ah.
Okay? You almost expect to see Sonny sitting there.
Yeah.
We're talking about American Indians. What brings you here? What is this goodwill tour exactly?
Well, I'm with the National Council for Indian Rights, and we're campaigning to rectify the social and historical injustices that have plagued the American Indians since,
Okay, Okay, in other words, your organization is working to better the lot of that noble race of people who were on this continent, I dare say long before we were. You are then campaigning for better schools and hospitals, better teaching and educational facilities, better job training and programs for your people, right?
Well, yeah, that's part of it, but mainly what we're trying to do is to get more work for Indians in TV and in movies. You see, it's very unfair, and it's also very frustrating to see other minority groups always being cast as Indians. I mean, there's so many Indian actors out of work. For example, why? Why should we stand idly by while some Italian gets cast as an Indian? Well, why can't Indians play Italians for a change? Huh?
Well, do you speak Italian?
Well, it couldn't be very hard to speak Italian because thousands of Italians speak it fluently. It seems very simple. Hey, well, what's the matter with you? You just add A's and O's. You know, like at a pizza? Hey.
We're trying to get more Indians in commercials, too.
Sure, that makes sense because a lot of baby food commercials could just as well use a squaw and her caboose.
Caboose. For instance, you don't have to have an extra bow and arrow or something around here, do you? I have an idea. Oh, that is great. As an expert on Indian affairs, what about the other issues of concern to American Indians? Are you involved with those?
Yes, we are. We feel that our ancestors really ought to get some credit for their part in the founding of this country. As a matter of fact, there are various tribes like the Cheyenne of Colorado.
Right.
And, of course, the Shosheen of Montana.
There they are.
The Apache of...
That's in Arizona.
Oh, Arizona. And there were an awful lot of heroic leaders that don't get credit. Like, there was this one guy. He was at the Battle of the Little Big...
Horn. Little Big Horn?
Yeah, right, the Little Big Horn. And this guy, he was... oh, shoot. Wait a minute. He was kind of short and he had a big nose.
Sitting Bull?
Right.
Yes, one of this is.
Yes, Sitting Bull. And, you know, the women were very, very strong. The women would go out and they would hunt and they'd fish and they would, they'd plant corn and they'd come home and they'd into this little hot, little sweaty little hut. It was, you know, it had skins all around. Kind of looked like an ice cream cone, you know. It was,
Teepees.
Yeah, that's what they called them. And the men, the guys in the tribe, they were called
Braves. Atlanta Braves.
They would come home at night, and they would be really, you know, tired from working too, and so they'd be really bummed out, and so they'd come home, and you know, and it was just exhausting.
Bummed out. Pardon me, Princess, but I have a feeling your research seems to be a little bit shaky here. Are you sure you are actually 100% Shenectah Indian?
Well, no, not.
Are you a half-breed like Cher?
No.
Exactly how many, let's say we wanted to build one of you, exactly how many parts Indian are you?
Well, I'm 1/8 Shenectah, and I'm 1/8 German, and I'm a quarter English and a quarter Austrian and a quarter Spanish.
So I'm not too good on mathematics. Does that add up to a whole person?
Oh, don't mind, Jerry. He's about a quarter missing. However, I can't help but wonder, Princess, have you ever actually suffered the indignities of living on a reservation?
Well, I was born in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, I know that you have a tribal dance for us that you had prepared, and probably prepared by looking it up in the library and trying to imitate it. But I think we have to look forward to that a little later in the show. In the meantime, all we can really look forward to, I guess, is ending this part of the conversation. We'll be right back, and I'm sorry. We're back. My next guest has been retained as a special consulting psychologist, you'd have to call him, and that's what he calls himself, so we'll do it too, at the auto plant here in Fernwood. Now, before you start turning that channel slicker thinking, uh-oh, here comes another boring psychologist.
I was just going to say that.
Let me assure you that this is going to be a very interesting portion of the program. He's been using a new form of therapy to help the workers at the plant with their problems. Please welcome Dr. Stanley Turnbull. Not exactly Gucci, but it serves its purpose. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you.
We don't have a whole lot of time, only half an hour. Tell us about your therapy.
Well, Bart, basically my therapy concerns what I call the 3 Ps. People, problems, and puppets.
I thought you were going to say people, problems, and psychology. You see, psychology also begins with a P, although we tend to overlook that because it starts with an S sound.
Thank you, Captain Kangaroo. That's very...
It's like pneumonia. Pneumonia is another word that does not begin with an S.
How about psychotic? What do you mean by puppets?
Well, look, most emotional problems occur because people are unable to really kind of let their true feelings be known. They kind of hide their emotions, okay? My therapy allows people to express themselves, to let their feelings all kind of hang out by the use of puppets. Now, this really goes back to the ancient Greek tragedies and dramas where actors used puppets and theatrical artifacts such as masks to kind of role play, to use alter egos. Now, I have brought along a few puppets here that my patients use. And
today, a lot of actors use the names of cities that we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah.
They call themselves...
Yeah, well, I use these puppets for my patients. And, for example, if you have a patient who is a meek personality, we try to give him a puppet like this, which, you know, your basic police puppet. Which,
I was playing cards, officer. I've got witnesses. So your patients actually use these puppets to talk to
Absolutely.
them.
They could bust their friends with these, you know, if they want. And also, for people who really go through life without any kind of sense of humor, people are kind of dull, vapid people that are looking for an extroverted personality, we have your clown puppet. And this really works. It really opens people up. Jerry, you want to hold that?
Wow, I like this.
Okay. For the people who are sexually uptight, we have a puppet here that kind of loosens it up. It's called Our Lady of the Evening puppet.
Look at that.
Kind of cute, isn't it? Right. Okay.
What sign are you? Sorry.
Oh, it wasn't you talking. It was, yeah, I see.
Let's clown around. Looks like Leo to me.
Doctor, as I understand that you brought along a couple of the employees from the plant who you've been working with down there to help demonstrate this puppet therapy.
That's right. I brought along with me the body shop foreman, Mr. Alton Stark, and the body shop worker, Mr. Lonnie Foxworth. Wow. Gentlemen, you want to come out here? Thank you, Mary. These gentlemen have been involved in, they actually work together, you see, as boss and employee. They've been involved recently in some really kind of fierce emotional union negotiations.
Oh,
so things down at the plant have been a little edgy, as it were. But through my puppet therapy, and I'm going to demonstrate this right now, we've been able to iron out these problems before they become, you know, out of hand, right?
Right.
Okay, now, gentlemen. All right. Okay, we'll begin right now. Gentlemen, let's use your puppets to just talk to one another. Okay?
Great.
Watch this. Why don't you start first, Alton?
Hello there. Hello. Hey, I can see their lips move.
Jerry, that's really not the point. Just bear with me for 1 moment. Lonnie, look, let's pretend that your puppet works for Alton's puppet, okay? What do you think of Alton as a boss?
I mean, he's okay. He's a bit of a slave driver, but he's okay.
Come on, Lonnie, really kind of get into it, all right? Speak through your puppet.
He's a bit of a slave driver.
What do you mean calling me a slave driver?
That's right. Use your puppet there, Alton, right? Oh. Be aggressive.
I have to keep my eye on all you lazy bums downstairs. Why don't you admit it? The only reason you're always on our backs is so that you look good with the big shots upstairs. Well, all you do is take their money. Well, all you do is suck their sock.
That's it.
You miserable no-good, you feather better. Why, you management think you? Oh, yeah? Yeah.
That's it. That's
Hey,
good.
cut it out. What's wrong with you two? Let it get to me.
Don't worry about a thing. That's just what we want. They both feel better now.
Well, I think one of them feels a little bit better than the other one feels. Are you all right? Okay. The guy up there is obviously feeling quite good. And we'll be right back after these words. Don't go away. What's bothering you, clown?
I'll tell you what's bothering me. You're bothering me. You're always making jokes at my expense. Those jokes hurt. I have feelings, too.
But they're just...
But they're just jokes. And you're so easy to make fun of. You're doing it again. Don't you have any feelings for other people? Of course I do. Oh, come on. Hey, this is an entertainment show. How am I supposed to act? Entertainment. Well, it wouldn't hurt to say you're sorry once in a while. All right, I'm sorry.
Once in a while.
And you could show me some respect for a change and treat me like a human being instead of some dummy. How long do you think a person can take being treated like that?
I didn't think you felt so strongly about this, Jerry.
Well, you never asked.
Okay, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. Let's shake on it. Okay?
All right.
You see what I'm talking about now? I think you both got out your hostility. I think the problems have been resolved.
Who would have thought it?
Well, I see what you mean, Doctor. It worked fine. As far as, the problems between the clown and the policeman. But what about any problems between Barth and myself?
That's all our time for tonight. I'd like to thank you, Doctor. I'd like to thank the factory guys, and thanks especially to you, Jerry, for being just, well, a very, very special man and being what you are. I think we can all say that without any problems whatsoever. Now, as promised, here is Princess Rising Star with her Shenandoah Rain Dance. See you tomorrow night.
1, 2, 3, 4. Singing in the rain, I'm singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling! I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place.
Also appearing on tonight's show were Sherry Watson as Princess Shosheen Rising Star, Richard Klein as Dr. Stanley Turnbull, Louis Arquette as Elton Stark, and Michael Rapport as Lonnie Fox.
In the rain. I'm singing in the rain. I'm singing in the rain. What a grand, what a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds. In my heart, I'm getting ready for love. The stormy clouds chasing.
Well, if we only got one yikes a week, it wouldn't be Fernwood tonight. Barth starts by talking about the breakup of Tony Orlando and Dawn, and I remember them vaguely as big hits in the 1970s. Apparently they even had a variety show on TV. I don't remember ever seeing them. I feel like I vaguely could pick out Tony Orlando out of a lineup, but I didn't realize that Dawn was a backing group. I spent my entire life till just now thinking that Dawn was a woman that sang with Tony Orlando. So I really, I found myself a little bit surprised and ignorant. In this segment, Barth talks about maybe doing a number with the members of Dawn, though he can't quite remember what their names are. He keeps calling one Velma, and apparently, at least according to Google, the names of the singers of Dawn were Telma and Joyce. The other one. Then we cut over to Happy Kine, who leads a song with the Mirthmakers, but apparently things are so shameful in the world of modern 1970s music that he wants to create a dance number for the young ones that is not so dirty as, Get On Down and Boogie On Down. And even though I think the first number from the Mirthmakers in very early weeks of this series was Shake Your Booty, they have written another number in the disco mold. I mean, it's not exactly disco as I hear it, but there's definitely little hints of it there, called Hello, Hello? I don't know what the lyrics were. Sometimes, as I've mentioned, it's difficult for me to pick them out, but that's the song. Our next guest is Princess Shosheen Rising Star, who is there to represent Native American point of view, perhaps? Not exactly. At first, she is looking to increase the representation on film and TV of how Native Americans are played, and I totally get that. It's met with laughter from the audience, who maybe just a decade earlier were seeing, I'm going to speak from my own point of view, we're seeing Mickey Rooney playing a Japanese person on Breakfast at Tiffany's. So this was seen as completely normal, and I don't know how that might have shifted. I feel like we did start to see some Native American actors moving forward. Just a few years earlier in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, William Sampson was a central character in that movie, and that is a film that certainly was adapted from a book that many people thought could never be made film, since that central character of that novel was a person who would never speak. That's a bit of a tangent, because Princess Shosheen Rising Star, the second half of her bit is her not knowing the Native American elements of American history that Barth just names off. Apparently she's 1/8 of whatever tribe she's in, and a lot of other things. She doesn't seem very connected to her cultural background. Then we get back Dr. Stanley Turnbull, who is there to represent his new practice of puppet therapy, which I believe is something that does exist, and I feel like I've seen that presented. Here it's played entirely for laughs. I believe that pulling out the factory worker and the manager to have their talk about what it's like working with each other lead to a punch-out. Clearly they're playing it for laughs because, people can't use this tool in a way that's very healthy. It does lead to Barth and Jerry working out some of their problems, at least as far as Barth is concerned. Jerry thinks that the puppets, though, they worked out their problems, but Barth and Jerry still haven't. And then we get a rain dance from Princess Shosheen Rising Star. Well, it's not a rain dance, it's singing in the rain, which I think they are just playing with twists on stereotypes at this point. I wasn't able to find out much about Sherry Watson, who played Princess Shosheen Rising Star. I don't know what her ethnicity is or any of that. I get a little bit uncomfortable when I see stereotypes being used on the screen for humor. That's something that I have been uncomfortable with since I was a child. In the 1970s. So if anyone says it's the 1970s, it was okay, no, it wasn't. Because I was there. And it wasn't. Okay, I'm going to let that go a little bit. I have a few things that I'm holding on to, apparently, but that's me. That's stuff I've got to process. Next week, we are changing. This channel is going to become Dating Myself. I'll start by watching one episode of MASH every week and an episode of Gatchaman. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions in the comments. Thank you to my top-tier Patreon supporters because, well, you are all rising stars. We will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.